Welcome to the Pod Cave, kiddos. Today's show is brought to you by Michigan Comics Collective. It's a group of Michigan comics peoples. They're writers, artists, inkers, people that are just want to get into the comics biz and learn about it, and they're comic fans. And then what they do is they get together, they talk about comics, and they work together to put out quality, professional level comics made from Michigan Comics Collective. So if you want to learn about these guys, go to michigancomicscollective.org and check it out. It's a very interesting concept for you comics creators, comics fans, they're a great group. Today's show is also brought to you by Moringa Oleifera. It's the drink that I drink that keeps me healthy. Jim Bretney, you can drink this and it'll change your life.
I'll change my weight. That's what I need.
I was just talking to a guy about it. I told him today. He said I need to lose about a few pounds so I can get back out on the field. And I said this drink is not meant to help you lose weight, but it will help you lose weight. What it's meant to do is make you healthy. So anyway, Moringa Oleifera. If you want to learn more about it, hit me up or check it out on Google or whatever. I drink it every morning, and voila. Anyway, without further ado, let's rock the podcast.
Oh! Woo! Shred that! Get up, Buck!
Jim Bretney, welcome to the Pod Cave. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing well tonight. Tell us about yourself. You're a writer?
That's right. I'm a writer, producer. I write comic books. I'm a career comic book creator. And I've got a couple ongoing series for Lucha Comics. The first one is Blaze of Glory. That's a story. That's an Iraq War story. And then I have another comic book that's just finished. It's called The Kursk. It's about the submarine disaster that happened about 15 years ago. And I have another comic book that's on comics. All these books are on Comixology. The last one is a Western called Up the Trail. And it's a coming-of-age story of a young boy who goes up the trail from Canada, from Mexico to the British possessions, or Canada, as it's known today.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Have you had we're going to talk about your projects. Like, I love just talking about the fiction of it. And
Sure.
But it strikes me that you got like a history angle to all of them. There's a theme that runs through all of them, and just based on your description of them, because I haven't had a chance to read them.
Thank
So are you a history buff, I take it?
Yeah, I graduated. Before I get into that, I want to thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I really
thanks for coming on.
Well, it's not often that guys that have success throw a little bit back to the guys that want to have your success. We want to congratulate you on your two books and your animation project as well. It's really exciting. It's something that I've never been able to do. So.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that.
But to answer your question, what's that?
You're too kind.
But to answer your question, yeah, I have a history background. I think that books should, and books that we write them mostly for young audiences or adults. We want to be able to educate children. We want to be able to teach them, transfer the values that we've had, and send them back to children.
Right.
That would guide them for the rest of their lives.
The Kursk, that's a real life. That's an event, right?
Yeah, it was a real life event. Several years ago, I got the idea that I wanted to do a comic book about it. I wanted to write a story about it. I really didn't feel like not being disconnected with Eastern European culture and Russian culture in particular. I reached out to a guy named Sasha Yanowitz, who was a man who was born in the Soviet Union. He's got a Belarusian background. Now he lives in Australia. But he wrote a play about it, After 5 years of research, he wrote a play, and the play won lots of awards in Australia, where he lives. And I took that story. I got it. We came to a business agreement, and we hired a author, an illustrator named Andrea Montano.
Mm-hmm.
She is an American from Colombia. She's a Colombian woman originally, and she illustrates it. She did a really beautiful job. So it's not the story that I would have written per se. I think, looking back on the tragedy, I think that Sasha is he's a little bit too generous to his politics and my politics differ. But the fact is, he's been a great collaborator. He's been very generous with his time and his work, and so it's good to have done it. Good to have completed it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're in the process of getting a Kickstarter started so that we can publish our books as well.
Awesome. I'd like to definitely follow along with that and just follow along the project,
Sure.
So, and then the other, the one with the Up the Trail.
Yes.
A Western.
In 1903, Andy Adams wrote and published a book that became a national bestseller. I mean, the book is over 100 years old, but it was a national bestseller at the time. And he wrote it because he was a real life cowboy, and having read lots of fiction about the Old West, he said, well, I'm going to write from my true experiences. And here's a guy who was in his 40s, not much like myself, but he comes into his fortune through those books. So the book is in the public domain. The name of the book is called Log of a Cowboy.
Uh-huh.
And this is a story about a young kid named Thomas Moore, or Quirk. We call him Quirk because he's a little bit odd. And he goes up the trail. They pick up some cattle, circle dot cattle, and they bring them up the trail, and they go through Texas. They go through Indian country, which is Oklahoma, and Dodge City, and Ogallala, and Dodge City. Dodge City's in it. Dodge City is in it. Dodge City takes place right around chapter 15.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty exciting.
Wow.
It was a crazy time back then. I mean, it was
What year?
Vegas.
What year?
1881.
Okay.
1881. So about 14 years before
I passed through Dodge City.
the Great Train Robbery.
Wow, and that's kind of how we crossed paths initially, was because I had a Western animation, and
Yes.
and you have a Western comic.
That's true.
So
that's how I got.
this is what I find interesting. So you're into comics. I mean, so am I, but I don't hear anything about anybody with any capes or tights or superpowers coming from you. And if you read Detective
Perez didn't have any capes or tights either. I mean,
no, and so it's odd that or not odd, but a little bit different for somebody to make a comic that's a Western or a historical fiction. That's a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree. It's well, there was Jonah Hex. I was never a big Jonah Hex guy.
Uh-huh.
But when I was a kid, I had DC and Marvel, and about 10 years ago, coming out of the war, I said, I really don't want to be in the Army anymore. I really don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop asking permission to be happy. And so I said, what would make me happy was to be a writer. And to make me happy, I'd want to do something. I would want to express myself.
Right.
And so, I started into film, and then I zagged back into comics. And so, yeah, it's true. As a kid, I read Marvel. I don't know. What did you read?
You know what? I I was aware of it. I didn't even notice it really until I was like 21. I had a roommate that had a huge collection of, Marvel, DC, like the X-Men and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I picked it up and I was like, okay, I like to draw. I love to draw portraits and people, and wow, this is incredible. I like movies too.
Yeah.
Well, this is it, And so as an adult, I discovered it. And I mean, I was always aware of comics, but I just never paid attention to it until I was an adult.
Yeah.
And so I have been drawn more towards, adult-oriented graphic novel type material, not necessarily, I like the Punisher. He's pretty cool. And of course, Batman rocks, He's so cool. But I don't know why, it's campy Batman, a guy dressed in a bat suit. It doesn't make any sense, but it's cool,
It is kind of cool, yeah.
But, Superman, X-Men, I mean, it's incredible, all of it. The artwork is beautiful. The stories are just out of this, off the charts. But,
it's true.
But, yeah, I like the more noir type. One great one was Road to Perdition. That was an incredible book.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so you went through film school, right?
Right, I did, yes.
After you decided to be happy.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
And went to Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I did. I went to Hollywood for about 3 years. The Army paid for me to go to school, and rather than get an engineering degree, which would have made me some money, actually would have wasted my time and everybody's time. I went to film school, and I had some time and a little bit of money, not a lot, a little bit of money to make films and things like that. And it's tough. It's a tough business. As a writer, I could probably spend maybe a month or maybe even a year with the story. With a movie, you're going to spend a lot of time with that story. From just developing the story, selling the idea, and then getting it done. There's some things with the corporate culture, the local culture that I didn't really jive with. So I left. I'm still being creative. I'm still doing comics, and I found a place where I can be creative and I'm comfortable.
An outlet, yeah. Years ago, tell me what you think of this. Back when I was discovering comics.
By the way, before you get into that, Detective Perez,
yeah,
that story would have been a lot easier to produce than the stuff that I was trying to do. It's a good story. Actually, we produced something like that in LA. I'll show it to you. But
okay.
Yeah, well, the Detective Perez story is a lot easier to produce. A lot easier than what I was trying to do. But yeah, it's good.
I watched the short Valley of Death that you have, and that was cool. That was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you can find Jim on IMDb.
Thank you.
And lots of credits to your name. Well done. One thing I was going to tell you about. This is something I'm thinking about. So years ago, I thought, I actually went to a few comic book conventions and thought, okay, let me see if I can be a penciler for, want to get into penciling for comics, like for DC or Marvel or, Image back then. And so I thought, I tried a few quick, pages like they show you how to do. And this was before the internet and everything. And it was hard work, and I wasn't very good at it. And I'm like, okay, but I can practice. They say you got to practice and da-da-da. And so, I went to some comic book conventions and saw people showing their work. And I thought, I could spend years and years sharpening my skills, getting good at drawing 3 or 4 page, demos that I could take and show people and pitch myself as an artist. I could do that, and maybe I could get good. Maybe I won't make it. Maybe I will, Or I could spend all that time and effort putting it into a project that I will finish and have done myself. And so that's what I was like, you know what? I can do that myself. And so that's what I did with Detective Perez. Instead of, spending time for somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the way to go. There's basically, there's 3 routes. Okay. There's your route, which is you set up your own fan base. You set up your own. You're like, Robert Kirkman. Eventually, somebody from Hollywood is gonna come to you with their financing, or I don't know how the Kirkman deal happened, but I mean, you could be that guy. That is an approach. Now, there's another approach that if you're really serious about becoming a Hollywood insider, this is the approach that I recommend. Either become an actor and go that way, or what you do is you become somebody's assistant. And people who become somebody's assistant, I have a friend of mine, Ariel Hall. She started out as a writing assistant. Now she's on the show Grey's Anatomy. That's what she does.
She's a writer?
I think she's either a writer or she's a writer's assistant. She's that's what she's on that show.
Oh wow.
And then there's the third option, which is what most people do, is they say they're an actor, they go to a couple auditions, and they just basically drift.
Right. That's
That's the path that I was on. I was drifting, and I was like, I don't want to live in my car. So I think maybe it's time to do something else, and I did. So, but most people when they go to Hollywood, they drift, unfortunately. So to do what you do, you don't have to live in Hollywood. Okay.
Right.
So, but people. To do what you do, you don't have to live in Hollywood. Now, but the most preferred way and the most successful way is if you become somebody's assistant. You will get paid, not much. You'll get paid something for your time, and over time you prove your loyalty. But it's a very servile business, for lack of better words. It's no cute way to disguise it. People like the guys who produce TV nowadays, they've paid their dues. So, and they've done it either as a production assistant or somebody's assistant.
Yeah. So, you're a working stiff either way, right? I could work it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your book, like say, you got the Detective Perez story, and then you have this the train robbery story. You've got a number of views, you've got your demographic, you got your target demographic. Then you can go to folks that would either sponsor you to get eyeballs to look at it, either as a commercial that runs before it or after it, or presumably for Detective Perez, you'd want to go to more conventions, go to travel more. I'm assuming that's what it is, right? That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I just haven't. So, I got hooked on this animation thing, and I was off and running. So,
it takes time to promote, but
no, it does. You as much time as you spend producing.
But see, it's like a layer cake, There's a TV show or a movie called The Layer Cake. Yeah. And it's a really famous line. I've never saw it, but I saw the clip. And the guy says to Daniel Craig, when you're young, you take a lot of abuse. Now I'm going to change the word a little bit because it's a family show here. You take a lot of abuse. Then you get out in the world and you take more abuse. And then you move up a little bit and then you take less. And then you get to a spot where you you don't even know what abuse smells like or looks like, you know. And right now, you know, your career, my career, what sets us apart from people who haven't done anything. There are a lot of people out there, and you know these people. You know, they and I know these people. They haven't done anything. They say they're illustrators. They say they're writers. They say they're actors, but they haven't done anything. They haven't illustrated. They haven't produced any kind of art.
Right,
So,
right.
You know, you and I, we have intellectual property that's on the market.
Right.
Whether it's making a lot of money or making little money, it's making some money.
Right.
It's making somebody something. So, you know, that stuff does have a value, especially when it's completed. You know, you've got 3 works that are completed. I have 1. And then, you know, I mean, but people need, they need to be entertained. They need, and sometimes, you know, they need a place to introduce their products, and there's nothing to introduce their products than your animation or my book or, you know, stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Let's talk about your frustration with all this spamming. You mind if we talk about that?
No, that's fine. Yeah,
What is with all these artists? Here's my take on it, okay?
yeah.
I sit home in my basement, my little
Sure.
I call it my studio, and my wife wrote what's that?
It's the man cave.
Yeah, I call it my studio, and my wife rolls her eyes. But I draw a picture. I think it's fantastic. I'm like, oh, this could be the best one I've drawn yet. Somebody needs to see this. Nobody's around. You know, let me throw it out on the internet, bam, and see if I can get some love. You know, and so I think that's what's going on. Artists are just, you know, solitary people, and they're just looking for some attention. But the problem is we've gotten a lot of artists, but nobody's digging any deeper, right? Taking an interest in their projects, right? We're all just throwing stuff at the wall, right? That's my take.
I agree. And then from that point of view, I wouldn't have acted like such a disgusting internet troll. But I'm not addressing my criticism to the folks like you who say, I created something beautiful. I want to share the world what's in here. That I think is fine. I think that's great. What I'm more reacting to, and there's a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, because he is rather successful. He's created, he's had, first off, he spent most of his life in the arts.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty awesome. If you can do that, that's pretty awesome. This he's well known, and he's got a comic book company now, and he wants people to like his comic. And some people in the biz, celebrities have come up and said, you know, I've read your comic. It's the best thing on the science fiction market. So he's got some notoriety, and he's always spamming the Facebook comic book communities that you and I belong to. Okay? That's how I got to know your art. I said, wow, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to like this, and I'm going to comment on it.
Right.
So, for the solitary creator who's saying, I want to share my work, that's fine. Okay? But this guy, first off, he spams all the 50 or so comic book creator community sites that you and I belong to.
Uh-huh.
So I know him all the time. Then I've talked to him, and the guy, there's got to be a little bit of ego in all of us, otherwise we wouldn't do this.
Right.
But this guy has a lot more ego than I care to be around. So anyway, and he doesn't like, and he wants us to like his stuff, and he expects, he calls himself a leader, and he's done some things, but he doesn't condescend to come down and find out what's going on with other people's stuff. And so it's kind of hard for me to be loyal to your work, not you, but I mean,
right, no, I understand.
to this guy's work when there's no love coming back here. It's like, I mean, I know that.
Or you don't see it going anywhere, right? Not necessarily just to you.
I mean, there's a French saying, in love, there's the guy who offers the kiss and the lover who offers the cheek. I get it. But, in the words of Toby Keith, I want to talk about me. You know what I mean?
No,
I mean,
I think
you're a writer, you're a writer, you're an animator, you're an illustrator, all right? You're a guy who does it on his own, all right? I mean, that's cool. I can't illustrate. I can't animate. I mean, that's
I get what you're saying. I think that's why I do this podcast, is to get, to support other projects and other people's work. And I just, I'm just genuinely interested in, I just browse through and see stuff I like and go, hey, why don't you come on the podcast? There's people that go, okay. And then most people go, no, I don't, I'm too shy. But,
I'm too gosh darn busy, man. I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Going around here.
But that's what it is. It's a bunch of spam. Unless you put in some work and come up with something that you've got, okay, so you've got some projects in the hopper, but you put in some work to get these things going. You've got, artists lined up, you got production ready, you got a Kickstarter going, and you've got success behind you that you can stand on. So when you come to say, hey, look, there's something to look at. But if you're just always like, hey, I drew this, I drew this, I drew this, I drew this, then, I think it becomes spam. Right? And people don't take an interest in that, that person's most likely not going to be willing to dig deeper into anything that anybody else does either. So my opinion is a lot of these groups that we're in are, it's just a lot of spam, So you gotta, I take it, unfortunately. But they're great groups. I love them. I look through the spam sometimes too, but I understand your frustration.
We wouldn't find each other if it weren't for groups like that. So I mean,
right.
You gotta make a choice. You gotta make a choice. It's either stop all the notifications and get nothing,
right?
And then if you stop all the notifications, any feedback on your work you completely miss out on. So
right. It's So there's just, too much. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. There's
a guy on there, I'm not gonna mention any names. All he does is he advertises his studio. And it's great that you have an awesome studio. You guys got some great work, but I mean, your studio discounts, or what I pay my illustrator for an entire year. So I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or for a couple weeks, it's just like it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's I'm with you, man. But keep at it because I look forward to seeing what you come out with. Now, what is you mentioned? Is it Luchas? What did you call it?
Yeah, it's called Lucha. It's Lucha Comics. Lucha is a Canadian publishing company. It's Rodolfo Martinez. Okay. I think you and I are mutual friends with him. But Rodolfo, he focuses on young creators, or in this case, middle-aged creators.
You're a young man. You got a long way to go.
It's because of the hair. Anyway, so he helps guys get their stuff on places like Comixology or Amazon. So
okay.
and I've worked with him and he's helped me, where we've actually helped me get an illustrator for my comic book. So
okay, great.
Yeah, he's good.
All right.
He's got about 10 or 15 different titles.
Wow.
On Comixology as well.
Okay. Lucha.
If you're interested, what he does, a service that he does, that I think would interest you, is that he would take your comic book and he would give you a Spanish version. So if you are interested in maybe having a Spanish version of your book,
Oh, yeah.
available to the
Yeah.
large Spanish-speaking audience.
Perez?
That is.
Perez?
For a long time, I didn't think you were a white guy. I thought you were maybe a black guy, maybe. Maybe.
Well, I am where it counts. Oh, hey, keep it family friendly.
Sorry, hey.
um,
Man.
Hey, before we go, I want to also you mentioned your political views. So
Yeah.
I think, and you said you worked with Janusz, that you're quite opposite political views,
Yes, of course.
but yet you worked with him, and
With Sasha.
Sasha, yeah.
Yeah, Sasha's we have this political disagreement over the course of Ukraine and then the course of Europe. He believes that the world should be broken up into spheres of influence.
Okay.
And I don't think that's right at all. I think
Mm-hmm.
that most people want to have what we enjoy, the personal freedoms that most Americans enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at, so anyway, we have this disagreement over Ukraine. But,
Okay.
I work with him. He works with me. I respect him. He's my friend. I love him. He's a good guy. It's just that we just don't agree on this particular issue.
So I like that. I think that's important nowadays. It seems like, because I think, based on you seem to be pretty politically opinionated based on
Sure.
our watching you on Facebook and stuff.
Sure.
And I think you and I would probably disagree quite a bit on domestic politics,
Sure.
but yet we can still talk about things, common
course.
things that we have in common. I bet we could have a conversation about politics. I don't want to on this show, but but I bet we could, and then still be civil, And I think we need that nowadays. It seems like people just go, filth and flarn,
Right.
and call each other names and walk away.
Right.
And that's no good. I think that's not good. So that doesn't help anybody.
No.
I think we need to talk, share ideas and be able to disagree.
I agree. I completely
And then
agree.
vote. Bam.
People need to vote. You kind of lose your right to complain if you don't vote, right?
Yep. So anyway, hey, so I got this little bit on the show where I put you on a deserted island,
Okay.
and you get one of 5 items. Okay, I'm going to tell you what the items are, and you have to pick one.
Okay.
Okay, and it's a deserted island. So the first thing you have to pick is one dessert that you're going to take onto this deserted island. So it's
Ice cream.
ice cream. Well done. Okay.
Haagen-Dazs creme de menthe.
Oh,
No.
you're getting more specific.
Yeah. It's like it's just flan de leche, creme de leche. That's great. Yeah.
All right, one book.
One book. I guess it would be the Bible. It's a safe one. Yeah. It's pretty safe.
Good. Provide many years of good reading.
Yeah, it's funny. I say the Bible, but it's the one book. It's the book that I keep by my bed, but I don't read it as much as I should have, like at all. So I should read it. It's a book that I would take with me. But yeah, actually, pretty cool to illustrate the Bible. That would be cool. Like there's a publisher named Kingstone Media. They publish the Bible. That's good comic, by the way. Right.
Wow, check it out.
Anyway, go ahead.
Side note, I love kids or children's books, just like picture books.
Yeah.
The illustrations are just incredible. And growing up in church, I'd see kids' books, with pictures of, the ark or the animals and
Sure.
Jesus and different things. So those are great.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
they are.
All right, you're on the deserted island. You can take one movie. What's it going to be? You're a movie guy. I have to ask you.
Spartacus.
Spartacus.
1960 Kirk Douglas Spartacus.
Good choice.
Directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah, but not really directed by Stanley Kubrick, but it was directed by Stanley Kubrick, yeah.
Oh, really? Was that some sort of like Alan Smithy situation?
Kirk Douglas couldn't find a director that he liked, and he worked with Kubrick before, and then by the end of the movie, they didn't like each other, so.
Oh. Oh.
It's a good movie. It's a great movie. Have you seen it?
I have, but I don't. It was so long ago. I should watch it again. So I might do that here. See if I can talk my wife into it. She's game for. Okay. So we got your dessert, your book, your movie, a band or musical act. You get to take whatever band or musical act you want onto this island. One.
Get to hold them hostage forever, huh?
Yeah.
Elvis Presley. Yeah, man, we'll bring the king back. Elvis.
All right. Last one. Yeah, I know. There's a. Good. One tool from your garage or basement or tool shed.
We can't be a power saw. Maybe a hammer. Pretty basic. Like that doubles as a weapon, you know?
All right, good. Hey, Jim, it's been great having you on the podcast, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jim Bretney, everybody.
Thank you.
Dun, dun, dun. Come back again.
Thanks for having me on the show. I look forward to seeing some of your work coming on the pipeline.
Thank you.
Anything coming up?
No, I've had to stop everything because I need to balance. I'm just kidding. I'm always working on something.
Good.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to tell us right now.
Right. I've got secret projects under the. No, I'm working on a disco thing.
Really?
A disco, animated disco.
That'd be kind of cool.
I'm a big fan of Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
So
is it gonna be serious or is it gonna be comedic or
comedic? It's gonna be a satire of that.
That'd be good.
It's called Disco Dead. It's about a guy he's an assassin. He's a killer.
Mm-hmm.
But what he really wants to do is disco dance. See, you're laughing already.
That's good. It's a great premise.
And that's it. You know, I came out with a train job. Okay, it's a 20-minute animated movie.
It's great.
And then I watched this talk by Bill Plimpton, who's a famous animator. And he said, if you're going to make an animated short, you know, don't make a 15, 20-minute animated movie. Make a 5-minute thing. Make a 3, 4, 5-minute thing. And I went, crap. I wish I would have seen this before I made my... But anyway, so I'm going to try just something shorter and hire...
Yeah, you could say that, but I mean, the fact is you could take your... I mean, every like in Hollywood, like everything's like 22 minutes. Not that...
Oh,
well, yeah, it's 22 minutes. It's 22-minute comedies
right.
and 30-minute slot. I mean, I don't know. I think it's great. I think what you did is awesome.
Yeah, it is what it is, and I'm proud of it. And
more twists and turns than a Spanish Fandango.
Indeed.
Would be a Paul Pay production without misdirection. I'm starting to get on to you.
Well, we'll see. All right, Jim. Let's keep in touch. Come back on the show when you got your Kickstarter ready, and we're going to get you going with your books. And I look forward to. I'm going to check out. What's the name of the one that you have done?
The Kursk is finished. Up the Trail is ongoing, and then Blaze of Glory should wrap sometime by the end of this year. So.
Awesome. Great stuff. And I'll check them out on Comixology.
Thank
I love
you.
that thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. It's great. You see books that you would never ever see.
Yeah.
Not just, new stuff, but some old stuff too.
Yeah. All right, man. I gotta wrap it up.
I know,
Thanks
you
for
gotta
coming
go.
on.
Adios.